I had injuries in my league. You had injuries in your league. Let's go ahead and check out the waiver wire. But first, I want to kick it off by paying a little homage to Red Zone. Look at the sides here. What are we doing? What are we doing, Red Zone? We have half of our screen covered up. I don't know what's going on there. But if you had any of your injuries, I had Austin Eckler, Joe Burrow, countless guys in my leagues that went down. I'm here to help you out. Let's get to it. So I don't do any editing. I try to do more of the behind-the-scenes data digging and all that kind of stuff so I can get everything out to you guys as fast as possible, make it as simple as possible. So the channel's new. I'm not. I've been doing this for a while. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you also turn on notifications if you want to see when I go live every single Sunday, help you with the start-sit questions. I'll be tilting. You'll be tilting. Weather will be storming sometimes, so we'll figure all that stuff out. But let's kick it off here with the running backs this week on the waiver wire. Some of my favorites that I've got Trey Benson. He's rostered about, well, maybe we should start off with saying if any of the rookie running backs, any of the starting rookie running backs like Quinshon Judkins, Cam Scatteraboo, Bashal Tutin's not the starter, but he's getting run. And, that's exactly what we kind of expected after the Tank Bigsby trade. So, yeah, if any of those guys are available, they would be at the top of my list. But after that, we're starting with Trey Benson as my number one running back pickup this week. Rostered in about half of leagues, but head coach Jonathan Gannon said that he wanted to use Benson some more in the offseason, and he's doing exactly that. You can see his snap percentage. This is an ideal. There's not a lot of running backs to pick up here in week 2, well, going into week 3, but 33% snap percentage in week 1, 44% in week 2. Yeah, he's not getting a lot of run on the ground, but he also got 6 targets. All of this usage here is a career day for Trey Benson, and we're just seeing more and more out of him. This is very, very limited usage. You'll see they never had over 33% snap percentage in 2024. But yeah, career high in receptions, targets, snap percentage. James Conner, his snap percentage naturally went down with Benson being more on the field. And James Conner right now, he's averaging, look at this, 3 yards per carry in each of the first 2 matchups against the Saints and Carolina. So that's a little less than ideal. James Conner is still in play, obviously, but it's something to monitor if they want to get the younger 23-year-old running back out there. Next up on the list, I've got Chris Rodriguez. We saw Austin Eckler, I mentioned at the top. He went out for the season. Chris Rodriguez has been a healthy scratch in the first 2 games, and that's been merely coaching decisions right here. He's the younger running back. We've seen some burst out of him in previous seasons. Now, is he the number 1 running back to add, or is it Jeremy McNichols? I'm going to let you decide that. McNichols I have notes on him. He's never rushed for over 61 yards in a game. And mind you, he's been in the league forever. And Chris Rodriguez coming out was somebody a lot of people were really excited for in Kentucky, but just, been playing behind, Brian Robinson, playing behind Austin Eckler just a little bit. And yeah, he hasn't really had his chance to run, but I think he would be the waiver wire pickup of the week as far as running backs go. You could go Trey Benson, but if you need somebody who's, probably going to get you more points as a starter role because you've lost somebody, then yeah, Chris Rodriguez is probably my bet there. He's just younger, more juice, healthy scratch the first 2 weeks, so that is concerning. But I would probably expect these guys to bring somebody in. I don't think your running back room can look like, Ja'Cory Crosby Merritt and Jeremy McNichols, Chris Rodriguez. Like that's not ideal for a team that really wants to take it all the way, which they got pretty far last year. So yeah, Chris Rodriguez, Jeremy McNichols, I'll mark them off our board here, but I think both those would be very solid pickups. And then Ray Davis, you're going to see the fantasy points, and you're going to go, oh, that's less than ideal. He's available in about 3/4 of leagues. But here's the thing. So he's a sneaky flex. If you need somebody, let's say you have, I think it was Aaron Jones. He's kind of expected to miss here in week 3. Or you had Austin Eckler. Miami is a defense that I think you could actually play him against. If nothing else, he's a very, very strong handcuff to James Cook, who we've seen, he's just picking up where he left off last season. Everybody was saying, myself included, just in the sense of the touchdowns have to go down. And he had 2 touchdowns, both of those were way too low, so we expected to regress to the mean. But then 16 just seemed astronomical in this offense, especially with Josh Allen and how they're wanting to use him. But number one running back in fantasy right now, James Cook. If he were to go down for any reason, we would see Ray Davis skyrocket in value. We saw him a few times last season, just, when we had him over 50% snaps. Like, he was actually not bad for fantasy. But yeah, and against Miami, I think you could actually play him. This is another team where I think they'll be up quite a bit, and Ray Davis should see a little bit more run there. So sneaking into the end zone in week 3 is something I could definitely imagine happening. And then Tyler Algier, he's going to wrap up the rest of our running backs here in week 3. He's more of if you're in standard leagues, he definitely gets a boost there because he doesn't catch the ball, but he's getting a lot of run. He's got 26 carries through 2 games, and he's a high-end handcuff. We've seen him in his his rookie season. He set the Falcons rookie rushing record, something Bijan could even break in his first year. But Tyler Algier is a thorn in Bijan's, and Bijan manager's side because, whether you like it or not, they're going to keep using him. But yeah, definitely a player I think you could add. Again, he's more of a standard leagues. If it's a PPR, I could see going somewhere else. He doesn't get any of the passing work. But let's move on to wide receivers. Elek Iomanner. This man, 21% target share through the first 2 weeks. He has the same first read rate as Calvin Ridley, meaning they're designing plays for this young man. And the Colts secondary, they had 2 pretty brutal matchups. He didn't get Patrick Surtain against him in week 1. And then the Rams, they're a very good defense as well. But the Colts, if there was a defense to beat, this will be the easiest one that they've played against so far. If you got to see his touchdown catch, it was a very ill-advised throw by Cam Ward, but it happened, and it worked, and he targeted Elek Iomanner in that breakdown play. So, yeah, big body guy, and yeah, I definitely, he would be at the top of my list as far as wide receivers go. I think you could see more production throughout the rest of the season, and an opportunity for him to somehow be the 1B to Calvin Ridley's 1A. So Elek Iomanner is up there for me. And then Troy Franklin, you saw him in the thumbnail. He is somebody who, I think he's what we wanted Marvin Mims to be. That's exactly what he is. He's a wide receiver. Well, he's wide receiver 15 on the season here now after Monday Night Football, but he was a wide receiver, he was a wide receiver 1 basically. Like he's just getting crazy amount of usage. He led all of the Broncos and all of the receiving stats in week 2 against the Colts. Again, another reason why Elek Iomanner might actually be a pretty good pickup here going into week 3. But don't forget that Troy Franklin, Bo Nix, they're both at Oregon together, so they have that connection already between each other. And they get the Chargers in their next matchup. They get Joe Burrow-less Bengals, and then they get the Eagles in week 5. So they're going to have to be throwing the ball certainly to try to keep up with these teams. And Troy Franklin seems like he's going to be a focal part of that offense. I'm going to just pull up Marvin Mims here. Like, we're seeing the snap percentage go down. We're seeing not a ton of usage here. We saw a little bit at the end of the season. That's kind of where we were thinking, in the preseason, that Marvin Mims, he was drafted in a lot of leagues, in the last, rounds or so. But yeah, I think Troy Franklin is possibly what we wanted Marvin Mims to be. Somehow he fell to the 4th round. I remember when he came out, a lot of people were saying, he's at the end of the 1st. He's, early 2nd. And then day 1 rolls by, day 2 rolls by, and then day 3 rolls by, and Troy Franklin gets picked up at like 120th some odd pick in the 4th round. But yeah, I think he's definitely somebody who should be rostered in almost every single league. And I'll be going through each and every single player that I would consider dropping for some of these players that we're talking about, because obviously to pick up somebody, you're going to have to drop someone. So Troy Franklin definitely leads the charge with Elek Iomanner in the wide receiver category. And then Kayshon Boutte, only rostered in about, I know it says rostered 39%. I'm going off of Yahoo's rostered. I have a template over here. Man, that sun is bright. The sun's still there just a little bit. I can't turn off the sun. My curtains are all the way down, but I'm here to help you guys. I want to get this out, so let's just keep going through. I might be blind by the end of this, so won't be able to look at any more data, but yeah, it's all for you guys. So Kayshon Boutte, he didn't have the craziest usage in week 1, or in week 2 rather. Week 1 it was awesome, leaving right where he left off in at the end of last season with Drake May. In 2025, this one catch for one touchdown, it was an awesome touchdown. If you got to see that game at all, I'm a Pats fan, so I got to see it. Yeah, awesome. If you didn't catch that, people would be certainly worried, and I'm a little worried. And you wanted to see a little bit more out of the receiving game here, but kind of down overall. But Kayshon Boutte, I think he's definitely somebody you could pick up here, play him. Pittsburgh, I'm not worried about Pittsburgh. We saw Justin Fields in week 1 have like a 72% completion percentage against Pittsburgh, and Sam Darnold just threw, 300 yards and 2 touchdowns against them. So yeah, I'm expecting kind of a big day here for Drake May in week 3. Pittsburgh isn't as good as we thought on defense, and that's okay. We just have to adjust our priors. As the season goes on and we gather more data and everything goes like that, then that's when we stop, adjust, and recalculate and start to make better informed decisions in that sense. But Kayshon Boutte, he's another wide receiver target I like a lot. And somebody who likes targets, speaking of, Wan'Dale Robinson, he's a target machine. You saw him last year, 140 targets. He didn't even break 700 yards. Like, that should be illegal. Still just 24 years old, a super versatile, low average depth of target style of guy. But if you watch that game against the Cowboys, that was an awesome deep pass. I mean, he could do it at all levels of the field, but typically he's been used to that lower, PPR style of wide receiver. But he gets the Chiefs here, then he gets the Chargers. The Saints, they just threw for 3 touchdowns, so they're putting up points as well. Then he gets the Eagles twice and the Broncos. So I think this is definitely somebody you could pick up and throw in your flex spot, arguably. I mean, I'm not expecting Russ to throw for 450 yards every single game, so don't hear what I'm not saying, but he is the second target on this offense. You got Malik Neighbors with 24 targets so far, and then Wan'Dale Robinson, 18, just right behind him. And then third on the list is Theo Johnson with 8 targets through 2 games. So he's getting those targets. Targets are earned. And yeah, I mean, we could look at Russ for just a second here, but yeah, 450 yards, 3 touchdowns. I'm not expecting that again. We saw it last year. He did very similar, 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, and then put up stinkers, shortly after that. So if you're out on Wan'Dale Robinson, I understand. And especially since we could possibly see a change at quarterback. We even saw some Jackson Dart there in week 2. I totally understand if you want to be out on Wan'Dale Robinson, but in a PPR league, I think he's somebody who can give you a solid floor with sometimes having some upside if he breaks a play. Cedric Tillman. We talk about Cedric Tillman for just a second. He's the wide receiver 21 on the season. He is Jerry Jeudy light. If you didn't get Jerry Jeudy into your any of your drafts, then I think he's somebody who could be. He has the same. He leads the NFL in routes run with Jerry Jeudy. They're both 1 and 2, and Joe Flacco's throwing it 45 times a game. That's not hyperbole. That's 45 times a game. That's exactly what he's doing. So if they still have Joe Flacco, I'm definitely still on Cedric Tillman. He is doing exactly what we would. There's a lot of mouths to feed there, but he's doing exactly what we kind of expected Jerry Jeudy to do, like get a lot of the targets. That the hardest part is like I like Jerry Jeudy more. We know his upside as well, but Tillman in the games that he was healthy last season, and these were in games with Jerry Jeudy healthy as well. Like we saw him and Jerry Jeudy right on the same path as far as fantasy points go. So a weird touchdown in week 2. If you got to see that at all, it's like a popped up. I don't even know if he was targeted on that play. I'd have to go back and look, but it was like a popped up reception that ended up falling into his hands, and he caught it for a touchdown. So not how we drew it up, but that's how it ended. But yeah, if Joe Flacco's still there and he's still starting, and they don't go to Dylan Gabriel, which they did a little bit here in week 2, then I'm definitely fine with starting Tillman each and every single week. But he's at the end of my list out of those wide receivers. I like a lot of the other ones better. Let's get on to, before we leave them, I think Romeo Doubs and Dontavian Wicks should be mentioned, both Packers wide receivers, because Jaden Reed, he's going to be out. I think it's 6 to 8 weeks. Yeah, 6 to 8 weeks. And there's not a slot guy on this team that's really going to be going into that role. Maybe we'll see more out of Matthew Golden, but he's not going to be available. If he gets dropped for whatever reason after, kind of a horrendous start, then I'm cool with that. But yeah, Jaden Reed, Malik Heath got a little bit of run. But yeah, it's Romeo Doubs, then Dontavian Wicks is who I would pick. We saw Wicks a lot early and often in this game. Tucker Kraft is obviously going to see a boost, but there's some players you just obviously can't roster because they're rostered in too many leagues. Let's go on to tight ends now. I got 3 of them. We got Juwan Johnson here. He's been playing insane. He's got 25% target share in this offense, and they're throwing a ton. Whether you like Spencer Rattler or not, I mean, he just threw for 3 touchdowns, but 46 passing attempts, 34 passing attempts. I'm expecting them to be down in the Seahawks game, the Buffalo game. Like, they're going to be having to throw it a lot, and Juwan Johnson has been a recipient of that. Came down with a really awesome touchdown catch last week. It feels like I'm only highlighting players who had awesome touchdowns in week 2, but yeah, Juwan Johnson needs to be on everybody's radar. If you had Mark Andrews, if you had George Kittle, I'm starting him over. I'm cool with starting him over Travis Kelce. He started slow, Travis Kelce, and we expected a lot more, especially with Xavier Worthy out and Rice, out at that same time. Kelce has just been a non-factor as far as, being a good fantasy contributor. But Juwan Johnson, he's been awesome. He's out there every single play. You can see that by his snap percentage. He leads all tight ends and targets so far, and he leads the Saints in yardage. You'd think that would be Chris Olave, maybe even Raheed Shaheed, but nope. Juwan Johnson is our guy. And yeah, they faced the Seahawks in week 3. They gave 2 touchdowns to, one was George Kittle, one was the backup tight end to the 49ers, and then a 2-point conversion just last week. So yeah, I think that the tight end position for the Seahawks is a pretty weak position. And again, once we get to about a month in, that's when we'll have like a little bit more concrete data to figure out where the matchups are for tight ends. But right now, through 2 weeks, it looks like the Seahawks have a little bit of a hole there. Harold Fannin Jr., he led all of college football in receptions and in yards in 2024. That's overall wide receivers, overall tight ends. Like, that's over everybody. Yeah, he was at Bowling Green, so the numbers are going to look a little video game-like. But, despite having, a little bit of a David Njoku problem, he's outproduced him on both those fronts. In both games, having more receptions, more yards, more targets, and that's despite, David Njoku is still playing 80% of the snaps. And then Harold Fannin's, is producing with less. So that's definitely something we really like to see. They face the Packers in week 3, which, if there's any kind of hole in their defense, we just talked about the Seahawks and their tight end kind of hole in their defense. The Packers have a little bit of one there. It was Sam Laporta went for 6 for 79, and then Ertz went 6 for 64 and a touchdown in week 2. So I think, both of those, they're playing catch up. I wouldn't expect that to change here with the Browns. So yeah, Harold Fannin, I think he should also be on people's radars. Probably more. I'm going to do my rankings tomorrow, and it's going to be very close between him and David Njoku, and I might have Fannin ahead of him at this point. And then Isaiah Likely, he's looking to make his season debut. He hasn't played just yet, but if you had Mark Andrews, I don't need to show you this, but if you haven't had Mark Andrews, and maybe you had Kittle or one of these other guys that went down for your tight end, and you're just looking for one, this is what Mark Andrews has done so far on the season. These were in games where they scored 41 points in each of them, and he has 2 receptions for 7 yards. Mark Andrews is droppable. I'm not even, I know we saw this last year where he was kind of droppable and then just kind of went on a tear. Feel free. You're starting to name Mark Andrews over the production, if nothing else. The scary part with Isaiah Likely is if you pick him up on waivers, you will have to roster 2 tight ends because he plays on Monday Night Football. So it is a bit of a risk that he, does or doesn't play. But it was pretty nice. He did finish Friday with a limited practice. So that's always nice to see. From somebody who we saw a lot of flashes from him last season, even just his very first game. I think that was the toe tap game where they nearly won there. But yeah, I think they could use him. They're having a lot of different pass catchers catch the ball, but Isaiah Likely is one that has been a safety valve for Lamar Jackson. So I'm definitely really cool with that. 2 high over-unders coming up here the next 2 weeks. They got Detroit, which is the highest over-under in week 3, 51.5 points. And then they play the Chiefs, so that's going to be another high-scoring game as well. So that is it for tight ends, but I did want to give you a little bit of an honorable mention to Zach Ertz. He's available in about half of leagues. I don't think he holds up nearly as much upside as these other guys do that we were talking about. If you catch a touchdown in both your first 2 games as a tight end, you're going to be a top tight end. He's the tight end 2 on that, but I mean, the usage really hasn't been there, and we just know that the upside, there's not a 100-point game. There's not a Tucker Kraft, I'm going to take over the game style for a 34-year-old Zach Ertz. So if you want to go somewhere else, I totally understand. But if you want a safe floor and a low ceiling, Zach Ertz is your guy. And let's go on to quarterbacks. I got 2 guys here, and I'll just preface with that Daniel Jones is the quarterback 2. And he's had Denver is one where I was like, okay, it's kind of a fluke. It's against Miami. Denver's a defense where I was kind of surprised. Threw for 300 yards on him, 1 touchdown, no interceptions so far in the season, no fumbles. Like that's kind of been what Daniel Jones does, is throw games away, whether it's on the ground or through the air. We haven't seen a lot of rushing out of him either. Like while he does have these high rushing attempts, 7 and 6 for a quarterback, 3 rushing touchdowns. Like I would expect more yardage, maybe less on the rushing touchdown. His pace is insane. He's not going to continue that. But he also hasn't thrown for more than 2 touchdowns. So you could see kind of it sway between the rushing, go from the rushing touchdowns to some of the passing touchdowns on how they get the ball into the end zone. Gets Tennessee here in week 3. I mean, it's Daniel Jones. I'm not totally bought in just yet, but he's looking great. He's looking like he's rejuvenated this Colts team. It's his first road game, too. Both these other 2 games have been at home, so you obviously have a little bit of bias there, and maybe in their production. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to have him ranked as a top 15 quarterback here this week, and it might be the last time he sees that far, but it also might be the first 2 games where they have fluke. You guys let me know in the comments below. I'm a little bought in, but I'm like dipping my toe into the water. When you go to the pool and you say, "Oh, is this cold?" "Oh, it's a little cold," but you're supposed to just jump in. I'm not ready to jump in just yet, but I'm putting my toe in the water with Daniel Jones. And then Russell Wilson, talking about Giants quarterback still, I guess. Russell Wilson comes out. We mentioned him a little bit earlier, but 450 yards, 3 touchdowns, like a game that went to overtime. This is not an all-timer for Russ. It's definitely one of his better games. But just as I mentioned last season, he did that, and then we just saw kind of not great performances. I mean, there was one after that game. He had, and this is in 4-point passing touchdowns, but yeah, it wasn't great. None of them were really. I mean, this one really hurt you, but the rest of them were like not really winning you the week. So I'm not really bought into Russ, but he's deeper. I mean, if you want to try that and roll with Russ, he plays Kansas City, he plays the Chargers. Like they're going to have to throw on a lot of these teams, and Russ is one I'm definitely not bought into. I've played this game before and lost many times, and so yeah, that good luck if you start Russell Wilson. But in deeper leagues, I understand, and I think I should give a shout out to the Superflex leagues, because there are a lot of people that are going to be picking up Mac Jones, Jake Browning, Tyrod Taylor, Carson Wentz, Marcus Mariota if Jaden Daniels doesn't play. I mean, all of these things, I'm going to double check on Daniels here, but all of these things, yeah, day to day. So that's something to watch out for as well. And that's even if it is Marcus Mariota, I'd imagine it is. But yeah, those guys, if I had to rank them, I would probably go with Mac Jones and then Jake Browning. And that's just given their matchups, and we know that they're 100% starting here in week 3. So those would be the 2 I would prioritize if Mac Jones isn't already picked up. And again, these are strictly in super flex leagues. I'm not starting any of these guys over Daniel Jones or, well, maybe over Russ, but yeah, it just depends. But then probably go Carson Wentz, because he, if you didn't know now, he is on the Vikings. And he just has the best weapons of them all. It's a great matchup. He plays against Cincinnati. So if there was one to pick out of the streamer guys who he should be starting. We know that JJ McCarthy is out here for miss 2 to 4 weeks. I heard it was only a week, but okay. So it might have a little bit more of a long-term thing with Carson Wentz. And we talked about Pittsburgh a little bit earlier, but they're not very scary defense. So Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, if he's out missing 2 weeks, Carson Wentz, would be number 3 on that list. And then Tyrod Taylor, you got Justin Fields who's in concussion protocol, and Marcus Mariota. That's more of we don't know if Jaden Daniels is going to miss just yet, but that's kind of how I would rank those guys. And then last but not least, streaming defenses. I'm just going to kind of fire these ones off. But 49ers defense, they play the Cardinals. It's a nice 2-week defense because they play the Jags after that, and both of those are at home versus San Francisco. The Seahawks defense, they play the Saints. So, and it's another 2-week defense. I mean, I'm cool with starting the Seahawks. They play the Cardinals in week 4. So, they get the Saints, and then they get the Cardinals. I think they're actually a good defense too. So, that's another little tip of the hat towards them. The Chiefs defense, they might have been dropped or not even picked up. They're surprisingly highly rostered from what I can see from Yahoo data. And but they play the Giants, and I just talked about Russ and how I think he's a little fluky. But I mean, they play the Chargers and the Eagles. I don't think a lot of people were playing them against them. And it's only a 1-week rental. They play the Giants, and then they've got another matchup there that's probably not ideal for the Chiefs defense. And then the Colts defense, this is closer to deep leagues, but they get Cam Ward. Cam Ward's failed to throw for 200 yards in both of his outings. He's been sacked, so he's been sacked at a record high as far as he's leading the league in getting sacked. So if your defense gives extra points for sacks, then you get a little bit of an extra bonus there. And it's against Cam Ward, a rookie quarterback. He's fumbled the ball twice already through 2 games, so there's mistakes that can happen from a rookie quarterback. So let's go on to trending down players. I just want to kind of see this here for just a moment and see if there's any players that you can drop overall. Austin Eckler, obviously, you can drop him. Let me make sure I can see all this. Okay, so Austin Eckler, you can obviously drop him. Ollie Gordon, we're not seeing anything out of there. He's one of those like high-end handcuffs. So if Devon Achane were to go down, I would be cool with Ollie Gordon, but if you need a starter, then maybe you can grab Chris Rodriguez. And I say starter, whoever you like out of the running backs. Most of them were all second fiddle to everyone else there. Tank Bigsby, he's droppable. Jaden Blue still hasn't seen the field. He's got spunk, but Javante's been looking pretty good. So Jaden Blue, I think he's fine with being dropped. Damian Pierce, he's fine with being dropped again. Isaiah Pacheco, I'm not dropping him. It's a starting running back, but he has looked awful through these first 2 weeks. Chargers, you can't run against either way. And then Philly is just the same story. So if you want to write that narrative, I get it. Maybe you could buy him super duper low if somebody's worried. But I'm not starting him. I mean, he gets the Giants front 7. Like that's less than ideal as well. Braylon Allen, you can drop him. I'm fine with that. Brian Robinson, again, a lot of these guys are like high-end handcuffs. If the starter were to go down, I mean, much like the Ray Davis I talked about, the Trey Benson, like you're ideally not starting any of these guys, but you could drop them if you need to. If you need to get a start, if you need to get some of these wide receivers, it was a really good wide receiver week, so I understand if you need to make that adjustment. And then Dylan Sampson, I mean, he ended up catching a touchdown pass at the end of the game. I'm still rolling with Dylan Sampson. His usage is obviously going to go down with Judkins coming back. Let me go to the wide receivers here real quick. Calvin Austin, I'm fine with dropping. Jaden Reed, if you don't have an IR spot, I am fine with dropping. Darnell Mooney, I would take the Elec Iomanner. I would take, let me see who else I got here. Troy Franklin, yeah, I would take over him. Kayshawn Booty, I would take over him. Yeah, I guess I would take them all. Wandale Robinson and Cedric Tillman over Mooney. So Khalil Shakir, I'm not dropping Khalil Shakir. I mean, it's a blowout game. They're not going to be throwing the ball a ton. Josh Allen didn't even have a good week. You're going to drop Josh Allen? Like, they didn't throw the ball a ton. They didn't need to. Like, I'm not terribly worried about Khalil Shakir. Yeah, so not dropping Khalil for any of those guys. Jaden Higgins, he's seen a little bit of a bump up, but I would take any of these guys we talked about on waivers. Matthew Golden, I'm still holding on to. Luther Burden, we see it with, rookie wide receivers especially. Like, it takes a little bit of time for them to kind of get their wheels up under them, but he faces tough competition, and there's a lot of it. And I'm cool with dropping Burden and having him kind of starred, so I know, like, hey, I need to, if there's anything here, I'm going to pay up later for him. But if you can't roster him, I understand. I like a lot of these other guys on the waiver wire here this week, so totally understandable if you can't hold on to him. Marvin Mims, I'm fine with dropping. Adam Thielen, yeah, fine. Keon Coleman, I'm definitely still holding on to. And then Isaac Tasla. Does he just make one-handed awesome catches each and every single week for the rest of the season? I really don't know, but I hope so. It's really cool to watch. I'm not sure you can roster him just yet. Like, I like the guys we talked about, but yeah, there's just some names there that are trending down. Maybe people are thinking about dropping them. If you got any other questions on that, you can hit me up on X or Twitter, where I can answer any kind of start sit questions you have. If you're thinking about, I'm going to drop this guy or not, I'd be happy to help with all that. But again, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, and we're going to be coming out tomorrow with the weekly rankings. So stay tuned until then. I got some cool little graphics that are coming out too. I'm really excited for it. Really excited for the rest of the season. Good luck in week 3.